Hey everybody, Leon Chiva here, and let me tell you something, we're about to dive deep into the fascinating world of automobile sensors. These little guys, they're like the unsung heroes of your car, truck, whatever you're driving. They're the brains behind the operation, making sure everything runs smooth, safe, and gets you where you need to go, without burning a hole in your wallet at the gas pump. So buckle up, because in this video, we're gonna break down the different types of sensors, how they work their magic, and why they're so important for you and your ride. Alright, first up, let's talk about oxygen sensors, or O2 sensors, as the mechanics call them. Now these little guys, they're like the sniffer dogs of your exhaust system. They live right there in the exhaust pipe, dealing with all the fumes and whatnot, and their job is to sniff out how much oxygen is left over after the engine's done burning the fuel. See, the engine needs just the right amount of air and fuel to run efficiently. Too much fuel, you're wasting gas and polluting the air. Too little fuel, and you're not getting the power you need, and you could even damage the engine. That's where the O2 sensor comes in. It sends a signal to the car's computer, the ECU, telling it how much oxygen is in the exhaust. The ECU takes that information and fine-tunes the air-fuel mixture, making sure your engine is running at its best. Now, a bad O2 sensor, that can cause all sorts of problems. You might notice your gas mileage going down the drain, the engine running rough, or even black smoke coming out the tailpipe. So if you're having any of these issues, you better get that O2 sensor checked out. Next up, we got the mass airflow sensor, or MAF sensor for short. This little guy's got a big job. It tells the computer how much air is going into the engine. You see, just like we need the right amount of air to breathe, your engine needs the right amount of air to burn fuel properly. The MAF sensor sits between the air filter and the engine, and it uses a heated wire or a hot film to measure the airflow. As air flows over this heated element, it cools down. The MAF sensor measures how much the element cools down and uses that to figure out how much air is flowing in. This information is crucial because the car's computer, the ECU, uses it to calculate how much fuel to inject into the engine. Get the air-fuel mixture wrong, and you're looking at poor performance, bad gas mileage, and maybe even a check engine light staring you down. So, the MAF sensor, it's like the air traffic controller of your engine, making sure everything is flowing smoothly. Now, let's talk about a sensor that's all about how you drive. The throttle position sensor, or TPS. This little guy is attached to the throttle body, which is what controls how much air gets into the engine. Think of it like this: you press the gas pedal, the throttle plate opens up, and more air rushes into the engine. The TPS's job is to tell the computer, the ECU, exactly how far open the throttle plate is. The ECU takes that information and uses it to figure out how much fuel to send to the engine. So, if you stomp on the gas, the TPS tells the ECU to send more fuel, giving you that burst of acceleration. But if you're just cruising along, the TPS tells the ECU to take it easy on the fuel, saving you gas and money. A faulty TPS can cause all sorts of headaches, from a rough idle to poor acceleration and even stalling. So if your car's acting up, it's worth checking out the TPS. Now let's talk about keeping things cool under the hood, and that's where the coolant temperature sensor comes in. This little guy, it's like the thermometer for your engine, constantly checking the coolant temperature to make sure things don't overheat. It's usually located near the thermostat, right in the heart of the cooling system, and it uses a thermistor to measure the temperature. Now, a thermistor, that's just a fancy word for a resistor that changes its resistance with temperature. So as the coolant heats up, the thermistor's resistance changes, and it sends a signal to the ECU, the car's computer. The ECU uses this information to control the cooling fan and make sure the engine stays at its optimal operating temperature. A bad coolant temperature sensor can lead to all sorts of problems, from overheating to poor fuel economy and even increased emissions. So if your temperature gauge is acting up, or your engine's running hotter than usual, you better get that sensor checked out. Last but not least, let's talk about the knock sensor, the unsung hero that protects your engine from a world of hurt. See, knocking, also known as detonation, is this nasty phenomenon that can happen inside your engine cylinders. It's like a mini explosion that happens after the spark plug fires, and it can really damage your engine over time. That's where the knock sensor comes in. It's usually mounted on the engine block, right where it can feel those harmful vibrations caused by knocking. When it senses knocking, it sends a signal to the car's computer, the ECU. The ECU then adjusts the ignition timing, retarding it slightly to prevent further knocking. This is crucial because it protects your engine from damage and ensures optimal performance. A faulty knock sensor can lead to decreased fuel economy, reduced engine power, and even engine damage in the long run. So, if you hear a knocking or pinging sound coming from your engine, don't ignore it. Get that knock sensor checked out as soon as possible. So there you have it, folks. A crash course on the amazing world of automobile sensors. These little guys, they might be small, but they play a huge role in keeping your car running smoothly, safely, and efficiently. From the oxygen sensor sniffing out exhaust fumes to the knock sensor protecting your engine from harm, each sensor has a crucial job to do. So next time you're out on the road, take a moment to appreciate these unsung heroes working behind the scenes to make your driving experience better. And remember, if you're having any car troubles, don't ignore those warning signs. Get those sensors checked out, and keep your car running like a champ.